We're looking at the leading momentum companies on the ASX, as well as the top launchpad companies. That's the breeding ground for momentum stocks on the ASX. We've been through both lists, the top 30 of each one, and Gary Glover's looked for not only the thematics, so to see if there's any commonality within these lists, which can create great opportunities. He's also looked at analysing the charts to find the best setups, lessons to pull from the market, whether there's volume analysis that we can be looking at. So a lot rests on Gary's shoulders, but he does the hard work for us every week. And we say, good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, no, good, Chris.
You've got a lovely background there in behind you. So you're in a different office today, and grateful that you can share it with us while you're on the move.
In sunny Sydney today. So, yeah.
Well, sunny Sydney, you've got the 30/30 report that you've looked at, and we send that to members on a Thursday as well, so they can give us a bit of a request vest and some codes that if you don't cover them, we might just add them in at the end. So that's what we share with members who have joined, and then subscribers get this prompt, see the video whenever it's comes out every Friday. When you look at the momentum list this week, so the quarterly momentum companies on the ASX, is anything standing out to you on that list?
Yeah, I mean, this stock here, LTM, which is on the launchpad as well, and on the quarterly momentum, that sort of stands out because that, even though it's, pretty hard to trade this takeover by Rio has really put lithium back on the map this week. So we definitely saw a lot of lithium stocks remain pretty buoyant there. And I think, obviously with China coming back online here, it's stimulus recently as well has obviously helped a lot of that sector there. But I just think lithium definitely on the map here. So it's, that there's quite a few lithium names in the launchpad, but also quite a few already in the quarterly momentum. Obviously, you get a lot of mining, energy-related names in that quarterly as well. But the launchpad's a bit more mixed this week. But I just definitely felt this sort of news there. It's definitely going to be just prominent in the market, but also going to drive a lot of other stocks higher as well. And just pretty interesting move there, I think, for the whole sector there. So we've been talking about, we had uranium, lithium, iron ore, and all light up 3 weeks ago, and then we had energy the week later or something. So those sectors have been still fairly prominent here. So I do think this is potentially the thing to remember, Chris, is I was talking to someone about this morning, is that in the 70s, we talked about the energy being the number one sector there. The biggest move in energy didn't actually come until the end of that period. So it wasn't actually it had some big moves at the start in the first few years of sort of when inflation was high, but the biggest move in energy actually took place towards the end of that decade. So and then that inflation was sort of high, and then it petered off, and then central banks cut rates again. Sounds familiar. And then inflation sparked again, and then, another move. So it's, it's interesting that sort of everyone thinks inflation's done. We've got it better down here, but history suggests we've got to keep an eye on that because that can spark again. And also energy can have some pretty big moves there. And I just got to look at the macro picture there. Look at, data centers getting, set up, so many new data centers getting set up, how much gas there, those things are, energy they're chewing up. It's just, energy sort of, this just seems to be, it's going to be a pretty robust area, I think. So I just don't think this is a flash in the pan here. I think this is an area that could end up being a bigger move. But look, I can be wrong. You still let price action tell us the story here. But I just think pretty interesting sort of what's happened here in the last few weeks. So those are sort of sectors to be keeping a close eye on, I think. And they've shown some strength. So now we just got to wait for those sort of consolidations to happen in one of those names there. But look, LTM was just interesting there. I think on the quarterly momentum, an old name sort of jumped on the list there, Chris. Old BrainChip had a pretty decent sort of jump here, some pretty decent volume. Not unlike Appen really. So Appen had that drive and then faded for a long time here, and it's had another big drive as well. So brain chip sort of similar, some reasonable volume in there. Just got to remember that if you look at the weekly on these things there is a lot of overhead supply here. So it's fighting against the tape. So there's a lot of people who bought this stock all the way down here who are underwater. So any sort of rallies there, they'll be looking to sort of try and get back 50% or half their money, or maybe some down here might be trying to get all the money back, but there'll just be a lot of losers there trying to exit here into this. So that just keeps a lid on them a little bit there. I mentioned Abbott as well. Sure, that's on our, it's number 7 here. This has had a pretty good run. I mean, that's pretty chunky volume, so they can go a bit further than you think. So, maybe brain chip can go a bit further here. But it was funny. I was looking at this thing, I don't really, when they run up pretty steady like this, and then they start overlapping at what I would consider be at the top there. That can be a bit of a topping pattern there. But if you run high, then you start overlapping. You go from, I think if you think about a trend, a sideways trend, and it comes out of the trend, it sits on top of the previous high, builds on top of the high. That's a normal trend. And then once you start pulling back away from the old high and at least space, then you start to accelerate. So if you think about, you saw this move here between August, and then it came back and left a little bit of spacing there in September. So it didn't basically left a little bit of space there. So that's quite strong here when it does that, even though this is decent sized correction there. But you saw the spacing down here between this high and this low here. There was spacing there. It means it's more likely going to go to a new high again. So that's pretty constructive. But the last thing on the chart here, overlapping now, I thought myself yesterday, this overlaps, goes to a slight new high there. That'll be potentially like a little 3 thrust high, which can be a topping pattern. But I see they've actually announced a 192 capital raise here, 50 mil. So probably going to weaken up a little bit there. So, look, might be for, we saw with Drone Shield there when that capital raise there had a little bit of weakness there, but it didn't stop it from going higher here. So it's all about what the money's for. So it's not done here, but the cap raising at 192 is probably going to put the skids on this rally for a little bit here. So, but be interesting to see what happens there. I guess, I think normally you'd probably sort of see just a little bit of a cooling there. WRK number 8. Just think this one's sort of too small for me personally, but I'll probably keep this on my radar there just because that volume's been pretty solid all the way through here. So even though it's a smaller name, that volume has been pretty steady all the way through. So it's been pretty steady sort of buying there.
The members asked for that one last week because they bought it the week before. So hats off to them. Good trading there. But good to see it.
Yeah, I think it came up on the list a couple of weeks this one. So yeah, there was probably, I don't really like the smaller names, but when I do see the chunky volume come in, that always catches my eye. So no surprise to sort of see, this sort of gone high here. So to me, it's probably one that I'd probably watch and see if it consolidates at some point. See if the volume tapers off, see if you get some sort of congestion there. That was interesting there. Oh, actually the EZZ still powering along. I won't sort of touch on that because we sort of touched on that last week. But still at this stage there, still looks pretty robust. OCC. Now, I thought this was really interesting, Chris. This is a chart that I thought was, we talked about this one again, having had sort of a bit of a change in character there, had that really volume move there. What this has done is actually cooled off here. Look at that consolidation through here.
No volume.
Not volume as well. Yeah. So it's had a really strong jump, sort of come out of the gates, and then the whole thing sort of consolidated here and held above the 50. Now, sounds weird here, but I've seen this a lot happen here recently. I had to do my notes twice because I did my notes yesterday in Melbourne and I forgot to bring them with me, and then had to do them again this morning. I had a lot of stocks that done this, but I had to go back and just try and find one or two that I can remember. But Fleetwood here, FWD, it jumped out of the gates here, and then wound back here, back to the 50, and then bang again. So there was a couple other names I had written down as well, but I just can't remember. But this is definitely
pattern is securing a lot at the moment, is it?
Yeah, just something to keep an eye on there. If you definitely see that, if you see that really strong burst, and then you see, and it has big volume, it'll come back. And it looks, sometimes they might only come back to the 20, but I'm just noticing a lot of them are using a little bit more timer and then coming back to the 50. And then you're looking for some sort of little catalyst there. That was a nice little day there. I think there was another stock on the, I think it might have been AR3. There's one that has had that burst, big volume here. I thought, okay, maybe this might, might be worth keeping an eye on this, see if it winds back maybe to but the 50 is a long way back here. But just something I've seen a lot of recently is this sort of setup. So look how explosive that next leg has been. It's been pretty impressive. That's and pretty strong volume too. That's pretty robust all the way through, Chris. That's big volume there. Big again. So so this is telling us to definitely keep an eye on the stock here, because that's sort of how sometimes these bigger moves, these sort of start like this. So we want to watch this one. Definitely OCC should be on our radar here in terms of, it's too late to be chasing this now, I think, but you want to, wait for some sort of consolidation there. It's probably going to use up a bit of time here, the next consolidation, just because it really has jumped quite a lot there. So
just to echo your comments in the last couple of months, when you've looked at these game changes, you've looked at these explosive moves, you've looked at what you call the 100 Club, where they put on 100% or more.
Yeah.
An explosive move like this last week or so, huge volume, massive run. You've noted that quite often there'll be a day of selling, which is perfectly all right, a big heavy day of selling. But if that's kind of it for the selling, if it has a pullback and then there aren't any dramatic days of large ranges, large volume on the downside, then that's perfectly all right. We want it to be congesting in the top half, ideally the top third, if it's having that pullback. Are they kind of the aspects that you'd be looking for from now in OCC over the next week, more likely 3 or 4 weeks? Is that ideally what you'd want to be seeing?
Yeah, we just sort of know that when the stocks have those big moves there, particularly if they have those triple digit moves, Chris, that's how the big moves sort of start. So as we know, we're sort of going through a lot of those model books. They have that triple digit move. Sometimes they can be a lot more than that. And then they go through a consolidation there. So whether that's 2 months or 5 months or 7 months, they can go through these long consolidations there, but they'll often have another big move there. So I know sort of David Ryan always looks at stocks that have gone over 100% there, because he knows that when they do turn back up again, those ones have got the ability to sort of have a bigger move. So that's why we should be looking at some of those big names that really jump here. So this is now going from 36 up here to over 72 has fulfilled that. So definitely goes on the radar here now. So you just go through a consolidation at some point there. It's interesting that, if not mistaken, that OCC is along the lines of that. I think it might be in that stem cell area. I noticed that Mesoblast was on the list as well, Chris. Now, there's a few stocks in that stem cell area actually that have been making some moves here recently. So it's just an interesting area. I mean, this is interesting there. We talked about Mesoblast last week, breaking a little B wave down here and then maybe a second B wave here, and it's gone on with it there. But look at, even going on your high here, 1, 2, 3 days down here, there's not a lot of selling coming here yet. Now, if you look at the bigger picture on this one, I mean, this has just come out of this potentially has come out of a pretty deep low here. Has just broken above a bit of a, this is a 52-week high. So we know sometimes those, we see in the past there with some of those model books, they can go through a bit of a bearish move for a year or two, and they can come back out. And oftentimes it's that breaking to a 52-week high is sometimes a catalyst for a change of character for those stocks. So Mesoblast here is, there's some pretty good volume through here. A lot of people think, stem cells is, going to be pretty influential longer term here. It's just Mesoblast have I've just done so many cap raising, so many more shares in issue now. But they put a lot of stakes in the ground here. So look, maybe their strategy, might work out in the end, even though there's a ton more shares around. But definitely want to keep an eye on here. I just think it's, when I look back at history, it's kind of got this. It's got a characteristic that probably about a third of those multiple winners have got. So, probably a third of those ones really will go through a bad couple of years and then come out and then break out of a 52-week high after some pretty decent volume come in, sort of accumulation taking place. So even though it might be a little bit, you'll think, 360 went through a down period there. TUA, I think, Nuix, had a couple of bad years as well. So they've all sort of come out the other end here. So this is definitely one to sort of be watching pretty closely here. And that's a little vertical at the moment, but it's not, that's been pretty explosive here, pretty strong, showed relative strength. We've got the undercut in here, staying in the top third, nice and tight, little VCP in here. 52-week high, so it's got a lot of the characteristics that we normally see here. So I just don't real mesoblast out here just because maybe it's had a bit of a history of raising a lot of money. It does have the potential to sort of maybe sort of do something there. So what else we got on the list there? NVX, Novonics. This is sort of one that's a bit like some of these other sort of lithium names. There's a lot of losers as part of this one here. So look how, there's some, it's going to be hard for this one to get going, have a big move. But we do have a, bit of a chunky volume down here, chunky volume as well down here. So we're starting to see a little bit of accumulation take place. And I know that with the US, what do you call it, critical minerals, bill of stuff there, these companies are sort of accessed that. So the thing that I find interesting, Chris, is that what it has done is gone to a false breakdown here. So it's basically taken out the year low, and look at that volume in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So that's nice and strong there. So it's been definitely some accumulation there. So when I see a false break like this, only goes marginally lower for one day, then what that target should be to go back and retest the previous high, which is up around 118 here. So that's a decent move here. So the volume's pretty good as well. So it'd be nice to see this have a little consolidation there, but I don't think it's going to have a big move because I think there's too many sellers much higher, but maybe you can get back to this 120 zone here potentially. I don't know. It's not one of my favorites there, but this is interesting anyway. So, and the sector's under, showing strength as well. So we know sort of Stan Weinstein, we've got 2 charts and they look the same. One's in a strong sector, one's in a weak sector. We know we've got to stay with it. The strong sector is going to outperform 2-1. So we're definitely seeing relative strength in that lithium space and the rare metals in that, just a lot of resource names in general there. So sort of good signs there. What else we got there? MTH.
It's got an extra gene there.
This one's interesting just because it's had a pretty strong move here. Come back a little. Again, we've gone that 10 cents up to 80, so we've definitely gone past the 100 club. It's gone sort of 800%, I guess. That's gone 8 times. Has come back probably around half of that rally down, so it's come back, But look, saw a bit of selling here off the shoulder here, but it's starting to dry up here. Look, this one's just worth keeping an eye on because that's had a really strong move here. So we know in the past that we get a big rally like this, but probably just might need to use a bit more time there. Currently hugging the 20 at the moment, so it could be an area of support, but just nice to feel these will seem to be better if they sort of use a bit more time and they hold the 50 there. So love to see this sort of goes sideways for a bit more. Maybe the 50 catches up there, but definitely should go on our list there. It's definitely up. I've already put that one a couple of weeks ago into my 100 club list there to keep an eye on. LTP. So look, I did trade this move here. I was watching this one pretty closely. There was another little opportunity here. I didn't actually, I was watching this, didn't trade it actually, unfortunately, but you'll notice here that we've come back and had an ABC back in here, sort of come back between the 20 and the 50. So it's kind of nowhere really. But what it did do, if you watch after this ABC correction there, it went up 5 days. So we basically went up, 1, 2, 3, first day up here, 2, 3, 4, 5 days up. You look at those 5 days, there was pretty steady volume on there. And then it basically pulled back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Same amount of days, yeah, and no volume, no selling going on there as well here. So when you pull back the same amount of time and you basically probably held half of that range, it's a pretty strong sign here. So, could have been buying this at 170, to be honest. It's a pretty tight, maybe a tight stop here at, 159 or something like, even under this left shoulder here as well. But it's had a bit of a pop here. Volume's come back in again. Did see a little bit of selling at a new high, so just got to watch that, see what happens here. I'm watching this one here. I do like this one longer term, but I just love to see it go through another consolidation period first, Chris. It's had a pretty good move here again. Just wouldn't mind seeing another consolidation there, but that might have been my little window here that I missed for the second trade, but that's all right. You missed these trades here, so yeah.
Back in the wall.
No. As I've sort of been battling this week or the last couple of weeks mentally, is that do you want to be right or do you want to make money? And I've been battling with the fact that I've been right about a few things and did make money on them because they don't fit my rules, but that's okay. You just have to, as a trader there, it's we've got to put our ego to the side. If you thought things were going to unfold and you thought this is going to happen, but they don't fit your rules, and they do happen, even though it feels like they're missed opportunities. I think if you stay true to your rules and stuff there, it's a good sign that even though it might sort of feel bad that you've missed a few, some cracking opportunities, that I've definitely the last couple of weeks, quite a few things have unfolded like I thought they would, but they just didn't fit my criteria to trade them there. So I felt a little bit negative about that and almost resentful that I hadn't taken those trades that in my rules. But that's what the good traders do. They don't, it's like kind of reminds me of that sort of Steve Jobs sort of quote there, sort of about being focused. Instead of I think it was the CFO there was talking about at the time there. Steve Ickes on that. But yeah, just saying, it sort of focus is when you every ounce, every fiber in your body is telling you that it's a cracking idea and you should do it, but you don't do it because you're focused on something else. And that's what real focus is. So if we can block out, all these things happening in the market, and that's the thing about the market, there'll be left, right opportunities everywhere, all the time there. But if you've got a business plan there or a trading plan and you've designed it and you think you've got a winning edge in your plan, you got to stick to that. So I've sort of been battling that personally because it's probably not giving me the edge at the moment, but I know over time it will. And so you just got to stick to your planning, stick to your process there. That's the most important thing. I think sometimes we're sort of, it's just ego getting in the way here. So we've got to put that to the side. What else we got there? We've got a few. I mean, some of these names have been in there for a while, Chris. I mean, Nuix is on the list as well. I mean, gee, this trade here just keeps giving here. This is sort of one of those things where you feel like this stock's had a pretty strong run. Look, a few times it's gotten vertical and cooled off here. So got a bit vertical and cooled off here. But then it, basically set up another little cup and handle BCP and it broke again. Got a bit vertical again, but then consolidated. Did break again, another B-wave break here. Gets really vertical here, and the whole thing tightens up in here, and you think, you're probably thinking this thing's extended here at the time as well. But just, all the good traders are taking these trades, Chris. They're sort of like this, the strongest names tightening up and then breaking through again, and it consolidates again. Even up here, the whole thing tightens up again. You think, maybe this thing's looking too extended here, but what we don't see, we don't see any selling. Still don't see any selling. And these strongest names are showing strength, and they're not. No one's selling them. They keep going higher. So it's definitely sort of a concept there, which sort of it is sort of permeating through my brain here in the last year. Is that these leaders just they remain so much stronger than everyone thinks, and they stay high. So, if you read Jesse Livermore, they just talk about trading the leaders. Even in the 1930s, at 1920s, there he was trading the strongest name at the time there, and just waiting for them to have a bit of a consolidation, cool off, and then come back there. So, don't trade the laggards, and just trade them. I see online on Twitter, actually, I see people trying to pick bottoms all the time. I've got to start a position on this thing here, which has just been annihilated. I think, Jesus, mate, what are you walking into? It's like walking into a dark corner. There's 10 blokes in there with chains and a crowbar. You're walking in there, hands free. I've got a chance. Late at night, dark alley. Geez, I thank you. So I'd rather just sort of try and stay with the stronger stocks here and just try and swim with the stream here. So so EC8, EC8 is one of those sort of uranium names. They've been pretty strong. Oh, and actually, this is actually not uranium. This is gold. So again, pretty strong volume there, been pretty robust there. So still pretty strong. We've had Zip. Risk's been pretty strong as well. So interesting there. I was just looking at this. Obviously, it's sort of pulled back. You go back, a few times there, it came back to the 50. Sometimes it had the 20, but it sort of didn't really, sort of one or the other. It sort of tend to break a few rules there. But you can see there that, probably stayed off the 50 here a couple of times. But then the last pullback there has stayed on the 20 here. So, it's like when these things sort of get to the end of the move, when they're sort of, ramping up, they'll stay higher in the trend here. So this is pretty robust there. If you look at and McLaren talks about, drawing it, your trend lines. If it starts, your trend lines are sort of accelerating, then the trend's accelerating as well. So, it's just been pretty strong here, actually, really. I mean, look at that. That's where we pull back and, we've left a little, sat on top or a little bit of spacing there. Pretty strong here. We talked about this as well. The whole thing sat on top here as well. Previous highs. So, just if you're trading the momentum names there, I'd be looking at drawing your trend lines, how it's accelerating. I'd be looking at the old highs, see if it sits on top of those as well. So just look at, see where it comes back to. We can hold those old highs as well. So just some good signs. Some of those names, they're still pretty firm. Talked about Mesoblast, LV1 was interesting there. I thought this looked pretty good there, but when I sort of zeroed out onto the weekly, I was probably a bit less impressed. I mean, it's had a pretty strong run here. This is a pretty big correction now. It's come back pretty deep. I prefer to sort of see this be a bit more orderly. Maybe it can set up a cup and handle or something there, but that's a deep pullback back in the range. And that's pretty steady. That's pretty it's pretty decent amount of selling through there, Chris, as well. And then this rally here, I know there's a few bars here, but hasn't been super strong here. So look, you can go back and retest the high here, but I think you might see some resistance there. Just not seeing the strength that two things there. It's been much deeper, and then just not seeing the volume flow through there. But look, might go a little high here, but just wanted to watch there kind of later on. IMB was the last one here. I just got to sort of keep an eye on this one here, because so far it's been a really nice, robust trend, nice, slow and steady. So a little bit of a Gem Track there? That was just that stock just kept rallying, pulling back, and then had these sort of like healthy. See how healthy green volume bars all the way through here. Pulled back here, volume. Apart from that one bar there, it pretty much dried up. Not too much selling here. Good chunky buying again. Good chunky buying again here. Will this pull back in there? No selling through there as well. The buying comes back in again, gets a bit chunky again. goes up in here, there's sort of, it looks like it might be, gone to a near high. They're running out of puff here, but we don't see any selling at all developing. Now we see a nice volume again, and it kicks off again. So, but yeah, so this is definitely one to keep an eye on there, because it's sort of got the hallmarks of a strong stock here. At some stage, you'll probably go through another consolidation there, but definitely one to sort of to circle here, do some homework on, and one just to sort of keep an eye on things. Might potentially come back on the list there.
And just as you're talking about Gentrack, for those who haven't made the connection, when you're talking about circling, keeping an eye on and monitoring, Gentrack is one of the companies that you carried and studied in the model book. And the model books are something that legendary traders like Killamagny have done. They've just printed off the best charts, the best stocks of the past, and studied those charts. And we've done that in the model book, and Gary's done the heavy lifting there. So they're the videos that he's talking about and he's consistently referenced. Before we move out of the momentum, there was just one request that you hadn't covered in your shortlist, WC8. So if you don't mind just having a quick look at that chart, that was one on the momentum list. And
WC8.
We booked this one before, and it's started to flick back up. So from a basing perspective, is that enough of a base? Ideally, would you like to have seen more? Would you want to see more volume here? How would you interpret this move? Because it has hit the list, but obviously it's like you say, there's a lot of sellers before it.
Yeah, look, you've broken above a swing high there, so that's a possible change in character, Chris. And the volume's okay here, but you don't see too much volume in here until we get up here towards the higher end. So always, I prefer to see the volume accumulating, rather than run up and then all of a sudden you see that chunky volume after it's had a run, because that might be just, I guess if we roll out the WC8 here, I guess we're going to see a lot of overhead supply here. Yeah. So, so look, the good news is you've broken above a swing high here. It is basically one of those yesterday leaders that's had a big pullback, and then, it's basically gone from, 5 cents there to $1, and then it's come back to under 20 cents. That's come back 80% correction. So that's the 80%, 50-80 rule. That's on one of the 80, examples. That's classic sort of momentum sort of trading sort of stocks there. But can it potentially set up again? Yes, it could. But we want to see just a bit more stronger volume here so far. So you want to see a bit more price action there as well. So look, it's possible. But yeah, probably just want to keep an eye on there. Just me not seeing the sort of, the volume that I want to sort of see there to get excited about. So yeah.
Right.
So
that where the momentum was, and keep an eye on that and see how it unfolds. You mentioned right at the start that we saw some lithium names coming. The very first one, LTM, well, that hit both the launchpad and the momentum this week, and for obvious reasons, it shot the lights out with a takeover bid. That's rare for us to see it shoot into both lists so quickly. Normally we're seeing progression where they enter the launchpad. They'll be in there for 3-5 days, something like that. And then they move over to the momentum list a couple of weeks later, which is what you've talked about. You've seen it with sort of lithium, you've seen it with some energies, and you've seen it with gold and property trust earlier in the year. And you said right at the start, looking at this week's launchpad list, it was a bit messy. So a bit sporadic. Obviously the takeover, that's had a bit of a move in there. The energy prices have had a bit of a spike and sort of shown up, but not a huge thematic. I mean, looking at the top 200, there were 48 financials in there. So almost 1 in 4 companies in the top 200 launchpad were financials, but
yeah,
they're not normally.
So you gotta be worried, Chris, about those lithium names that have hit the list on the third or the fourth week up. So because we had the lithium, we had all the big movers there 3 weeks ago, and we had more last week, or and so now we're sort of getting to the, these are the, well, just not the bottom of the barrel there, but it just obviously you're sort of getting to the, you can have some of the, the laggards in that area. But the good news is that it does definitely showing strength for the whole sector. So that basically it tells us there we've had 3 weeks in a row of seeing those names on the list. So that's a good sign for the sector, which basically seeing widespread sector sort of strength there. So that tells us, months down the track, I'd say 80-90% chance that sector is going to be strong. Must be on the track. That's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in trading, but what we sort of know from having done these lists for the last 3 years is that when we see that widespread sector strength there over multiple weeks, that we see that we often see those names remain strong there for at least a couple of months, if not a few months. So yeah, so it's a good sign of this. Yeah.
Well, echoing that point is, if we're looking about it from the charting perspective, how the calculation of the launchpad works is that's actually us identifying that segment, that theme is actually trawling out a bottom. And that's exactly what you're describing. Sort of, we're trawling out that bottom now. And as you said, in a couple of months' time, it may be shooting out. That's because the launchpad's just identified, well, these companies are, they're not falling as much as what they were before. And that ends up being sort of those bottoms that you say. And you say, look, the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout often. So that's sort of the context of the launchpad. So we probably just jump into the charts and the lists. Which one stood out to you as being of interest in this week's launchpad?
Yeah, I think there was probably more. I mean, there was definitely more in the probably momentum there. So a bit sort of skinny there. So we've got AXE is number one on the list there. But yes, it's had a small move there. Volume's okay, Chris. But yeah, possible change of character. Still going to take out this high here yet. So, but you've definitely seen some stronger rallies in those, leading names in that sector there. So, just tells me, from what we sort of know in the past, there is those stronger names that come out of the gates hard early. They're the ones that probably have the bigger moves longer term. So I know, they might feel like they've already gotten away here, but at some stage there, they'll usually sort of tighten up, have some sort of consolidation there, and hopefully give us another chance there. But trading some of the laggards there, yes, they might still go up there, but they probably won't go up as much as the leaders there. That's probably the big thing to keep in mind there. One of the ones that sort of did jump out to me was EBR, just because I thought this is a stock that's shown sort of strength this year. It's had like a little ABC correction here, Chris, kind of undercut the low, probably a little bit, slightly deeper than you'd like. Probably just to see a small undercut, but definitely saw some volume down here at this at the low here. So, and we've seen some volume on this rally as well. So, definitely want to keep an eye on there. Just because it has been a relative, has been a stock that showed relative strength, and it did go from 55 cents to $1.20. So there's that 100% move as well. So just might be going through a consolidation here. Yeah, potential. There's a little bit of it now. You might call this a little undercut, maybe a little B-wave break here. But yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on there, just because that does look okay here overall there. So this big volume down here obviously looked like it might have been early selling, but the selling's it's all come at the end here. So obviously that's a little bit of accumulation taking place there as well. So just one stock to sort of keep an eye on. I think it looks pretty interesting there. EBR Systems, EOS as well. I thought was interesting as well, just because this has sort of had, again, we've sort of been a better. Showed relative strength, stability, had a pretty strong move. Again, we've sort of gone for 90 cents up to over $2. So again doubled in value, and now pulled back, and the whole thing's sort of tightening up here as well. So it has, we do have the potential, little VCP setting up in there. I mean, it's what you sort of see on that weekly is that's pretty robust volume through there. There's been a little bit of selling through here, but we've had robust volume again. Selling maybe dried up a little bit more, and then we saw robust volume again. So we've had pretty good volume accumulating the stock here. So potentially, prefer to see the VCP be smaller and tinier on the daily there, but this could be a weekly sort of VCP as well. So just one to sort of keep an eye on. So that looked pretty robust. DXB I thought was the one that probably looked pretty interesting to me. Dimerics. So again, this has been one of the stocks that has been traded relative strength this year. So it's gone from 15 cents up to 65. So gone up basically 4 times. So pretty strong rally here. Pulled back here, had an ABC, did come back and undercut again. So maybe it had that marginally, but that's probably stayed in the top half of the trend. So that still leaves us in a pretty strong position. What I do like about this, when I look at the weekly and roll out there, this is a pretty strong rally here. The pullback has just come back and set on top of that little mini high there. That's kind of the last high there. So this is sort of rallied here, still overlapping, had a little VCP in here, did break out. But then now this left spacing in here, and now it's just come back and sat on top of that high there. So still leaves it in a pretty strong position from a weekly point of view. So now we're just going to drill into the daily here, and so we saw a little bit of a B wave break in here. Hasn't this is the first time that it's actually broken above. It's broken above one high, broken above two highs here. So we do have a bit of change in character there. Just want to see how this absorbs there. Just sometimes they can build a little bit, take a little bit of time to build here. But I think this is one to sort of keep an eye on there, just because it's had some okay volume, has been a leader in the past, has gone through some sort of consolidation there, stayed in the top half. So definitely one to sort of keep a close eye on. In my opinion there, SQT, again, we just know that that payment system there was zip and stuff that's been pretty robust there. So it's just sort of one of the stocks that I do have in my model portfolio. Watching this one here, Chris, because I sort of had that low here recently, had the first high low, second high low. This pulls back in here and has a third high low. It could be pretty constructive there. Often those sort of, that's how the bigger bases develop there. So this is looking pretty constructive overall. So nothing wrong with that. LTR, just thought, obviously, look, some of those lithium names had a good little bounce here. Just had a nice little move here. Some okay volume in there. Again, I was sort of wondering whether this might, I sort of want to see these things base a bit more. The lithium, I know everyone's getting excited by them. I'd like to see them consolidate a bit more. Maybe 0, 1, 2, 3 sort of consolidation as well. Just sort of hold the trend there. Just important not to see too much selling there after a rally here. So far we've definitely seen a few heavier selling days in there. So maybe we'll get a bit more consolidation. But looking positive there. Just like to see some sort of consolidation from some of those names there. CVL I thought was interesting there. Just been showing pretty strong, relative strength here so far. Gone back to retest the high pretty quickly. Just one to sort of keep an eye on. Cooper Energy, COE. Bit small for me personally, but this has been a strong move here and gone sideways the whole time here. So it just leaves the stock in a pretty strong position. It hasn't really showing relative strength overall. So not showing too much weakness.
Yeah, it's rallied more than 100%.
Yeah, so I definitely keep an eye on that. It's just doesn't look too bad here at all. So there's some okay volume, coming out of this low here. We definitely saw the volume lighten up into this low here. Come back to the 50 weeks. So it might be building here. Definitely want to keep an eye on there. Just obviously a bit happening in that sector. So again, it is a sector showing a bit of strength. So wire was on the list. Again, this is showing relative strength, Chris, as well. So people probably won't want to go near the stock here, but had a strong rally, pulled back, got back under the highs, stayed tight the whole time here underneath the old high here. Leaves it in a pretty strong position. So it's just looking pretty robust there. I mean, that's, almost a little cup and handle sort of pattern there. So just not showing any weakness at this stage. So yes, it's not a name that you sort of, jumps out as a momentum stock here, but so far it sounds looking pretty buoyant, showing strength there. So it's not showing any weakness there. So it does look all right.
We're going to look at the price action, not let our biases.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So CCP, this has been one of my better trades here the last month there. I've sort of been probably one of the slowest moving stocks here, but it's just starting to heat up here now. This is what sometimes when you get those sort of 0, 1, 2, 3, they can take off there. This did take off initially, but then it sort of settled back in here and just build another higher low, and then it's basically sort of gone again. So from this sort of high low here, it's, and did another higher low. Did a nice little VCP in here. I did sort of add to my position on this little B-wave break in here. Thought this might have been time for it to take off, but again, it sort of took its time here. Look, sometimes, it's got to be patient with these things. They can, but normally once you've sort of got those 0, 1, 2, 3 pattern in there, and it did actually set up again. So there's like, there's this sort of 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the whole thing's taken off. So sometimes it can just take a bit longer, but I'll say, like, I haven't actually, like, normally I would trade into strength there, but I just noticed this stock tends to sort of, go to new highs before it sort of pulls back. So it tends to run see how each new high in there sort of runs slightly higher, slightly higher, slightly higher. So it tends to sort of overshoot and come back. So again, just a matter of studying the stock a little bit more, looking at its personality. Maybe it goes to 18, maybe I'll trim some there. Might pull back, put it back on again, goes to 18, 15, 19, might trim some there. And then hopefully it'll go to a new high here, and then I'll probably trim the whole lot. But it's, it's just taking a while to get going, this stock here, but does look pretty good here now. Some good volume the last few weeks. So, but look, maybe this has got potential to move a bit higher here. So we'll see what it unfolds there. But this is one of those stocks that did report well, Chris. I know that anyone just sort of subscribes to the Copper Report. We'll sort of talk about reporting season, how stocks report and how they trade in the first few days of when they report. What that means months down the track, So there's a high correlation as to how they move in those first couple of days of earnings, as to how they or how they look a few months down the track there. So I think it's up. I think it's over 80. It might be 80, 85% of those stocks that do well post sort of earnings tend to do pretty well a few months later here. So CCP is definitely in that mix there. SXE might be the last one here, Chris. Thought this is interesting now. I mean, look, this has been one of the stronger names here, being a leader. And I was looking at the weekly thinking, this is sort of had a pretty strong name, and now the whole thing's starting to overlap. So that can be a sign of weakness when you see that overlapping trend here. But as Bill McLaren would say, overlapping trend is more of a sideways trend. One or two things will happen out of that sideways trend. It'll basically sort of roll off, come back up and kiss the lower high, and then sell off, or it'll pop out, come back, sit on top of the previous high, and then take off. So one of those two things is going to happen with this case here. But this has been a leader. It's been pretty strong here, been pretty robust. And this market, in the last year, there's still the odds favour this stock breaking higher, not lower, because it's had the momentum there. And even in here, Chris, we've sort of got a VCP actually developing here as well. So even this little pullback here getting tighter, and it hasn't been too much selling in here so far. It's been pretty light here. So even though this rally's a bit light here, but maybe this will tighten up here, give it another VCP. But definitely a stock to keep an eye on there. I know looks very extended, looks high in the range there, but we know these stocks that these stronger stocks, even though they look extended there, look a bit tight there. Once they go through a breather and tighten up, they can come out, keep going there as well. So I was talking to you earlier about TLX. So this is again, it's been a leader, but showed relative strength there. Had like an ABC, so it's undercut the low. So it's done a little 3-day 3 EMA, which was the Matt Caruso there, I think Larry Collins and I think Gil Morales and Couch call it the undercut and rally. So it's done a nice move here, but after it's gone to a new high, all it's done here is go sideways. Look how tight this price action there. So that's one of those sort of David Ryan looks for that sort of tight price action under the high. So even though this is kind of a slight new high there, in the past there, that would have scared me being a little bit of maybe a false break there. I would love to see that consolidate on a high, but all it's done here is consolidate sideways there, and it's just come out here. So this is something that pros would trade this coming out of here. most of us would be afraid to trade this because we feel like it's already too high. We're looking at, we're buying this, it's so far right. And our brain says, hey, we're paying the top price for this. Doesn't make sense. We should be buying it down here, bottom left. But history knows that these are the type of moves that can go on here. So let's be interesting to sort of look at TLX a week or two from now, just see what happens here. But I think this is a sort of setup there. When you look at some of those stronger names, they do these. They often go a lot further higher than most people think. So, look, I personally haven't traded this one here. I sort of was tempted to, but I'm curious to sort of see. It was just when I was looking at the setups there, I was literally, I didn't take this trade, and then I was watching a few trade align videos, and I don't know, I was watching either Oliver Kell or Caruso, and all of a sudden this pattern was just coming up for about 3 or 4 trades that he took. And I thought, oh, that looks exactly like TLX. And these things just went bang, bang. I thought, okay, let's see. But that's about it, Chris. That's still plenty going on the market. Still the really the quality momentum is probably the more interesting list there. Some of those names are still pretty robust, still pretty strong there. So keep looking at the stronger names, wait for them to have a pause. And I think there's still some reasonable sort of trading opportunities there, particularly probably in that resource sector there. We just want to see we'd love to see some sort of consolidation from some of those leading names in the last 3 weeks. I think you want to go back and look maybe 3 weeks ago at the list, probably the first 2 weeks, and see the strongest names, and then hope they will have some sort of consolidation. And because those ones that came out of the gates hard, they'll have a consolidation at some point. They're probably the ones who are going to do the leading as well. So history tells us those are the ones that will tend to do better. So that's my little 5 cents worth for the day.
I said, well, there we go. We go back and have a look at the leaders that you serviced a couple of weeks ago and understand that they've got the better chance of running. My key takeaway from today is your cracking quote right at the start, which is, what was it? Do you want to be right or do you want to make money?
Yeah.
So leave the ego at the door and focus on the trading setups, the systems, and the processes that you've got in hand. So thank you for sharing it. Yeah. Shared that with us and been really open with your trades and your approach. Thank you very much. And dissected this week's 30-30 list. So we say thank you very much, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.